So we're going to move on to the last section here. Those were key strategies in design. And you'll note there are still lots of ways to go. To quote Robert Frost, there's still miles and miles to go before we sleep when it comes to these strategies. Can we move these chairs just out of here? Sorry about that. And now we want to talk just a minute about some ideas that we explored this year that we'll see come up again in the future, or that we hope to come up again in the future. So there are three main strategies that were in exploration. The first is our early childhood centers. As you know, with the passing of our bond referendum, we've talked about repurposing the Gilbert Elementary School campus, or the current Gilbert Elementary School campus, as well as the current Pillion Middle School campus. And part of that work is going to be about our early childhood centers. Dr. Erica Bissell is leading that work. You saw her earlier tonight talking about lab sites and model classrooms. But that work is ongoing, and she's currently collaborating with district staff. We're looking at other districts with early childhood centers. And also an element to that I think is really neat is she's working with the Children's Museum in Columbia, Adventure. And Adventure, because one of the things we're looking at doing is what would it look like if we put Children's Museum's exhibits in our early childhood center? Developmentally appropriate, hands-on experiences for our families who may not be able to get to Columbia to go see Adventure. Maybe to have it in their backyard and to have that experience there, and to have it where big sister comes to register for 4K, little brother can come see it, or that our daycare centers or our Mother's Morning Out groups or those types of organizations could come and take a day trip to our early childhood center and explore and play and have fun and engage in school at a very early level. So it's about accessibility as well. In a more rural area, you're maybe less likely to have the accessibility to get there, and we'd like to have those opportunities for our students. Again, you'll notice when you take a look at our commitments, that checks off a lot of the commitments that you see in our strategic plan. Secondly, I've hinted at this a little bit, and I believe we have a meeting coming up on this fairly shortly. We don't have a name for it yet. I know the board knows that I like to name things. It's one of my favorite things. And we don't have a name for it yet, but it is about academic and social emotional support, and we will be targeting our lowest paid, the families of our lowest paid employees, their children, and working with those families, long-term, consistent, overtime academic and social emotional support. We'll be defining what that looks like. We're partnering in that with the School of Medicine, Wake Forest University, and despite the fact we will not be pulling for Wake Forest University on Friday night, we will be pulling for the Tar Heels in that particular football game. But we're very thankful for what Wake Forest has done for us. They're really helping us out on this free of charge. They're just trying to let us get it off the ground and assist that with some of the past relationships and networking that I made from North Carolina. And so we're looking at what that's going to be and what that's going to look like. Again, another strategy that checks off a number of the commitment boxes. And then finally, when we talk about rigorous coursework, I do want to say Mary Gaskins is currently leading that work and trying to bring that idea off the planning table into the real world. So we're excited about that. And finally, the idea of rigorous coursework. Again, to go back to the element, there's a theme of the night, there's a theme of the year, all means all. We do want to see our students in the most rigorous coursework. We do want to see coursework that is engaging, that brings students, that challenges students. I was talking today about some of the PBL work that we're doing at Forts Pond and at Midway, giving students opportunities to engage in problems that demand lots of skills and lots of ways to solve, which is really about what real life is, right? There's not one way necessarily to solve every problem. And you have to draw from a number of your skills to do so. And we want to make sure that rigorous coursework is available to everybody. So that's part, I think we saw that in an earlier presentation, but those are part of the ideas that we're moving forward. And Dr. Talley and her instructional services team are really the leads for that instructional idea. So finally, what I would like to talk to you about as we finish up tonight, which is really not too far off of schedule. Year 2 is typically the hardest year of implementation. When you talk about any type of major initiative, year 2 is the hardest. Because at first, there's lots of excitement about planning. There's lots of excitement around dreaming of this future that is going to be new and different. You're collaborating, you're talking about all this stuff, and really there's lots of opportunities. Year 1 is incredibly exciting because it's in year 1 you start seeing the direct line between, hey, we did all this collaboration, we've initiated some of this new stuff, and lo and behold, it's actually making a lot of difference. So there's often lots of excitement in year 1. What makes year 2 hard is you're really now a couple of years removed from that initial excitement. And what also typically happens in year 2 is, to use a metaphor here, you begin to break through the cloud cover. And you look up and you see how high you still have to go. You see the mountaintop for what it is. Because you've made all this progress and you think, man, we've worked super hard, we've done all this work, and then you still look up and you go, gosh, we still have a long way to go. And that can actually be dispiriting. That can actually drain the energy from your implementation. And again, to extend that metaphor, the trail is a little more broken this high up. There are fewer and fewer people who have made it this far. So you don't have a whole bunch of people necessarily to come with you. The handholds are a little more treacherous because when you start talking about all means all, it's a little more dangerous now. You got to actually do something about it, and you got to get up there, and we're still climbing that mountain. So that's really the challenges associated with year 2, and I'm so pleased at the efforts we've made. I'm pleased about how far we've come, but no matter how big we become as a school district, right? This 504 kids a year since 1988. No matter how big we become as a school district, we've got to remember that we are serving individual students. We can never forget we're serving individual students. And because we are not going to be successful talking about averages. We're not going to be successful talking about averages. We're going to succeed one child at a time. And that's the focus of our strategic plan. That's the focus of the work you've seen tonight. And that's the focus that we'll continue to have in the year ahead. I want to thank these folks for all that they do. One thing we haven't talked about tonight that I do want to point out, I think I counted 18 or so people. Mary Gaskins brought half the leadership team, so I'm not 100% sure if I'm right about the number 18. But we have about 18 people that presented before you tonight to talk about our strategic plan. And what that represents is there's a lot of people with a lot of hands in this work. And I told the board when we first started the strategic plan that this was not going to be Greg Little's strategic plan. It was going to be our strategic plan. And you see lots of effort and lots of work being put in by lots of people. And that is one of the most exciting things about the work that we're doing. And so I want to thank the folks for being here tonight. Team Finance is back here. They didn't present, and the IT folks, they didn't present. They were out here just because they wanted to see what was going on. Thank you to all the presenters, and that's right, absolutely. But thank you so much to our presenters. If this group will give them a round of applause, I would appreciate that. All right, that's all we have for you tonight, and thank you so much, and we look forward to a wonderful 1920 school year.
Thank you to everybody who made tonight possible. This is one of my favorite events. You learn so much. It's a long night, but We do learn so much, and it's great information, so thank you for taking the time. Board item 7.0 is for your information, and I would like to remind everybody that on September the 25th at 5:15, the South Carolina School Boards Association is holding an advocacy meeting for our region over, just as an aside, this feeds right into Greg's story, over at the Lexington 4 Early Childhood Development Center. And if you've not been out there, it is well worth your time, and to go out there and see. And if Erica wants to go with us, she's more than welcome to go too. But it'll be at 5:15, and if you're interested in going, it's a great meeting. Just get with Cheryl Layton, and she'll help you set up so that you can book that for you. So it's just I think, to be honest with you, we've always coveted their early childhood center, so we're really excited that we're getting 2 in our district. Board item 8.0 is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Oswald. All in favor, please stand up. Thank you.